Today's show is sponsored by Usage AI. Usage AI is for companies trying to rein in their AWS EC2 spend. Usage AI is the only cloud cost platform that automatically applies the cost savings recommendations they provide you, netting you up to 57% off your EC2 spend. No code change, no downtime, and no engineering work required. Usage AI's automated reserved instance manager automatically buys and sells 3-year, no upfront reserved instances on your behalf to maximize your coverage and minimize your compute spend. Bundled with a buyback guarantee, Usage AI allows companies to get all of the savings of reserved instances with none of the long-term commitments. They are contractually obligated to buy back your reserved instances at any time. Sign up in as few as 5 minutes to join companies like Deal, Kick, and FabFitFun by visiting usage.ai/cloudcast to get started today. That's usage.ai/cloudcast.
Cloudcast Media presents from the massive studios in Raleigh, North Carolina. This is the Cloudcast with Aaron Delp and Brian Gracely, bringing you the best of cloud computing from around the world.
Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome back to the Cloudcast. We're coming to you live from our massive Cloudcast studios here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And it is February 2022. Hard to believe we are 1 month in to 2022 already. Still kind of a slow news week compared to years past. We are starting to ramp up. We are starting to see some more acquisitions. We are starting to see some more funding rounds, but it is a bit of a slow time of the year. But we do have one acquisition to dig into this week, one funding round and another unicorn that's been created this weekend, and another work study as well that was really fascinating. So with that, we're going to jump right into our first article. The first article is by our friends over at Weaveworks. Now, if you're not familiar with Weaveworks, go check them out. They really have pioneered GetUps in the GetUps category, and they've been on the Cloudcast here, a number of times. And they did an acquisition today, and it's less about who they picked up and more about the why. It is a security company, and they like to use the term policy as code. And we're starting to see this trend, and it's something we've talked about recently on the show, and we're going to be talking about more here in the very near future. But you can call it secure GetOps, you can call it policy as code. But of course, as all of the tools and pipelines get automated, of course, there's going to be security and compliance all the way from source to production. That's going to need to go with it as well. So really fascinating pickup. And it's really good to see them kind of continue to grow their portfolio and in a very complementary way as well. And moving on to our second article, which is more about a funding round. And MinIO, if you're not familiar with MinIO, it is open source cloud storage. And it's actually something we haven't talked about nearly as much on the show as we have in past years. To be very honest, storage got a little boring. But MinIO, they did do a Series B, $100 million at $1 billion valuation, and Intel Capital, as well as SoftBank with the Vision Fund 2 specifically. So it's good to see this getting some traction. But like I said, this is something we're not seeing nearly as much of anymore. And why is that? Well, the public clouds, they have their storage, right? And there isn't nearly as much of a need a lot of times. So what is this use case, and why are they getting this kind of money and this kind of interest? Well, if you look at MinIO, it is a complete API reproduction of S3. And this allows S3 compatible applications just using S3 APIs to run anywhere. It can run on Amazon. It can run Azure, GCP, Tanzu, OpenShift, Rancher, Bare Metal, on hybrid cloud, multi-cloud, pretty much anywhere. And that's their big bet. And in addition to that, I mentioned it's open source as well. So we haven't seen a large open source company get funding in a while like this, and we haven't seen a large storage company get funding like this. So very interesting. We'll probably look into trying to get them on the show to talk about this a little bit more at some point. If you are interested in the open source and commercial side of all of this, the article that is linked goes into the intricacies of exactly how they're doing it and what their plans are, especially around the open source models that they're using and how they're using them, so that there is, of course, a community edition and standard and enterprise editions. And with that, I'm going to move on to article number 3. Article number 3 is a study from Okta. If you're not familiar with the Okta Business at Work studies, it's been going on for about 8 years now, and it is exactly what it sounds like. How are Okta customers and the industry working out there, and especially in an increasingly multi-cloud world, what does that look like? Now, this is less about remote work or in the office work or how are we getting things done. This is more about the application and infrastructure layers beneath them, and how are they putting that all together. Of course, Okta kind of stitching that all together as they do. So what are the trends? Well, from 2020 to 2021, not much changed. I mean, honestly, it was just COVID, continuing. But as we break into 2022, we're starting to see much more multi-cloud, as many expect, and a shift to SaaS-based models as well, as many would expect. Again, good read. If this is of interest of you, go take a look in the show notes. And with that, I'm going to wrap up Cloud News of the Week. Coming up right after the break, we're going to be talking to Hashicorp about building cloud services from software.
You know the drill. You're falling asleep and you're wakened by an emergency page. It's your night on call and something's wrong. The good news is you've got New Relic, so you can quickly run down the incident checklist and find the problem. The lambdas seem good, but something's up in the APM. Dig deeper and there's another set of errors in Kubernetes. Ask the team to roll back and the problem's solved. That's the power of combining 16 different monitoring products into one platform, so engineering teams can see across their entire software stack in one place. You can pinpoint issues down to the line of code and resolve it quickly. That's why dev and ops teams at DoorDash, GitHub, Epic Games, and more than 14,000 other companies use New Relic to debug and improve their software. Whether you're at a cloud-native startup or a Fortune 500 company, it takes just 5 minutes to set up New Relic in your environment. The next late-night call is just waiting to happen, so get New Relic before it does. You can get access to the whole New Relic platform and 100 gig of data free forever with no credit card required. Sign up at newrelic.com/cloudcast. That's newrelic.com/cloudcast. And we're back. And folks, if you listen to the show for a while, you know that we have always been really big fans of HashiCorp. We've been very, very lucky since even the earliest days of the company to have a chance to talk to the team that's been building it, the team that's been helping it to grow. And one of the things that's been really interesting to us as we've watched HashiCorp grow, they've recently gone IPO, moved into that next maturity phase, is they've been doing one of the things that we've seen a number of companies try and do, and that's to take their core product, oftentimes a software product, and bring it to the cloud, not just so that it runs in the cloud, but is delivered as a cloud service. And so we thought, we've always loved our conversations with HashiCorp. It'd be great to really dig into how did they do this, what drove them. And so we're really excited to have Preeti Somal, who is Executive Vice President of Engineering at HashiCorp. Preeti, welcome to the show. Great to have you on.
Thank you so much, Brian. I'm really excited to be here and sharing some of what's going on at our end with you and your listeners as well.
Yeah, so great to have you on. First off, before we dive into what you and your team are building, give us a little bit. We're always really excited to have strong female leaders from the industry be on the show. Give us a little bit of your background, some of the things that you've worked on, and ultimately, kind of where your focus is these days at HashiCorp.
Yeah, absolutely. So I essentially spent a lifetime building enterprise software. I was at Oracle for a long time and VMware after that. And most of my experience has been kind of in and around the infrastructure, systems and applications management space. From VMware, I went to Yahoo, which was a fascinating experience because I was kind of on the other side, building a whole bunch of cloud services for consumption by the Yahoo developers, everything from running consumer apps to mail and so on. And that actually was where I got my first exposure to Hashicorp tooling. We were using a few of the Hashicorp products at Yahoo. And that experience also, I feel, trained me really, really well for my role here at Hashicorp, which is essentially running engineering. I came on board in 2018 and have been really fortunate to be able to build a really modern set of products and cloud services and hope that we're solving our customers' problems in a really compelling way.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's, one of the things that we always said when we first had on Mitchell on the show was, we love talking to people who, sort of live the technology and then, sort of, solve problems for themselves and then take it out to market. It's great to hear that you've done that as well. Also, you are a Georgia Bulldog. Congratulations on the recent national championship. We're big college football fans, so congratulations on sort of a long awaited event in the life of Georgia fans.
Absolutely. It was all the more sweet because of how much time it took us to get here, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, let's talk about the Hashicorp Cloud Platform, HCP. Everybody knows Hashicorp as this, creator of fantastic software, both open source communities, but also software. What ultimately, at a business level, what drove the company to say, hey, we need to not just deliver software to the market as an option, but kind of a cloud SaaS-like version of these things? What were your customers telling you? What did the market tell you that drove this new initiative?
Yeah, it was, as you were saying, kind of the two elements of customers and market/industry. From a customer's point of view, what we were seeing is as our products got more and more adoption and became more critical to our customers' infrastructures, they were coming to us and wanting us to run the software for them. Kind of like the classic cloud value proposition, right? Here we've got Vault or Terraform and an entire business depends on it. And can the experts at HashiCorp actually run this for us? And that was a really, really strong signal that was coming to us from our customers. And on the other hand, we were also sort of watching and clearly, a core participator in the overall industry trend. After all, our products are built to enable customers to move to the cloud. And it was just natural for us to kind of operate and move towards delivering them as cloud services as well, because we were firsthand seeing the value that the overall industry was bringing to customers around ease of adoption, onboarding, time to value, the expertise in running the software, et cetera.
Yeah, no, that makes total sense. We've all been watching kind of the growth of public cloud usage and in parallel, customers love the power of a lot of these technologies, but oftentimes they go, look, I struggle sometimes because they're moving so quickly to have the right people in place to run them. So yeah, being able to offload that to people who know the technology really well. I'm curious. I've sort of watched from afar other companies try and take software and turn it into cloud services. I'm curious. Internally that can be a challenge, right? It's your company has been known to build the technology, but then you sort of give it to your customers to run it. What had to change internally at HashiCorp to sort of begin to say, hey, we have to be able to build up some skill to be able to run it ourselves? Because running a cloud service isn't just turn on the technology. What were some of the things that you had to go through? What were some of the lessons you brought from Yahoo to start to make this happen, to go from just a software company to a software and cloud company?
Yeah, that is actually something I could write a book about, but let me give you some highlights. I think in a way, for us at HashiCorp, the element that did not change was this focus on customer problems. And, if you followed us and you kind of read our Tao, we talk about workflows, not technologies. And so I think that focus on let's solve the customer's problem and kind of put technology as sort of a means to an end, I think that served us really well around bringing that focus to what is the customer's problem we solve as we move to cloud. Now, of course, in another way, a lot had to change. And one of the first things that we concluded on, because we are a multi-product company, that we would sort of approach cloud by building out a common sort of chassis on which we would deliver all our products and services. And so that's why kind of the HCP, the Hashicorp Cloud Platform, was sort of built. And what we really are trying to do with HCP is solve a lot of the sort of common elements of, how do you do incident management? What's the control plane strategy? How will networking sort of work in this cloud model? And really enable a lot of the sort of core platform pieces to expedite how we deliver cloud services. So definitely sort of technology and platform build out, a mindset and a process change, because clearly we're able to iterate a lot faster. Things like using feature flags to really kind of test capabilities before we ship them into production. And of course, as well, sort of a change in terms of building that SRE and operational muscle and expertise as well, right? So, a lot of sort of change across the R&D organizations in building that expertise and really thinking scale, operability, and sort of the rapid time to market and iteration process that cloud enables us to really adopt.
Yeah, no, it's like you said. I get the sense, like you said, you could write a book about this, and you've been doing it for a number of years now. I was curious. You mentioned sort of building up those SRE muscles, building up those SRE experience. Obviously, you can't go into sort of all the details, but like I think a lot of times people think, oh well, I can just take software, throw some SREs at it, and boom, you're going to have a cloud service. How much do the individual teams, the Vault team or the Terraform team or whoever, have to start thinking sort of in a, kind of a two-pronged path now to say, hey, am I building technology for what we have to do with software versus cloud, or, is it sort of one path? How do you, sort of think through, obviously you want it to be as operational as possible, but what people do on-prem and what they do in the cloud sometimes different. How do your teams have to think about that in terms of where to put their effort and how much commonality they can have?
Yeah, no, I think the way we approach that, again, it varies a little bit by product, but let me try and break that down.
Sure.
So for something like Vault, where, Vault runs in the kind of customer's data plane environment, the main sort of thinking around it has been, how can we operate Vault at scale without needing to kind of hire an army of SREs, right? So things like automatic upgrades, things like, backing up the sort of Vault on a regular frequency so we could restore it if we need to. Just sort of that sort of operations run book and making sure that is kind of automated away in a manner where we can deliver against the SLAs that we kind of sign up with our customers. And then, as you know, customers for a product that is critical to their infrastructure, the SLA requirements are really high, and
Sure.
we strive towards those. So that was sort of the first phase of what the teams were sort of thinking through, is been kind of around the control plane, operability. But as we kind of make more progress, the next set of things that emerge for us are, how can we help even sort of the consumers of Vault on the customer side onboard a lot faster? Things like toolkits and SDKs. And the focus really sort of starts shifting towards, can we activate customers that are purchasing Vault even more rapidly, because we have more insight into where they're potentially hitting some roadblocks, et cetera.
Right.
So,
Sure.
kind of, I think we are going through these phases of maturity as well. And on the other side of the spectrum is a product like Packer, for instance, where as we looked at Packer and how we would bring Packer to the cloud platform, what we really looked at is, what are the gaps in functionality that Packer users at scale are feeling, and how can we sort of iterate and deliver those gaps? So a lot of focus around being able to build images with Packer and then have them available in Terraform, just sort of making that workflow that customers have a lot more compelling, a lot more seamless and out of box, so that they can kind of solve their problems pretty easily using the cloud delivery that we are focusing on.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's especially interesting in the context of, for certain products, the thing that you're having to adapt to, like you mentioned with Vault, is how do we even simplify it even more, but also be conscious of the SLA and the criticality of it, and then like you said, with some of the offerings like Packer, maybe using it in the cloud or consuming it as a cloud service. There might be new things that you have to do. So it's interesting that you have to look at each service kind of through its own lens, and be able to make sure it's the best fit. I'm curious, one of the challenges I would suspect is, with enterprise software, the name of the game oftentimes is, having the most features. Customers will ask you, they're constantly asking you for new features and new things. And, what may have started off as what you thought was a perfect design tends to get kind of weird sometimes when a customer goes, yeah, but I need to stand on my head on Tuesdays when the moon's out. And you go, okay, I'm going to build a feature for you. When you turn that into a cloud service, you're, like you said, you're now trying to scale this service to make it consistent. Have you found, what's been the journey that you've found with customers who, before turned a lot of nerd knobs, took advantage of all these features that you had enabled, and now they go into the cloud and it's sort of like, do I get all of them, or some of them not there for me? Like, have you found that's a challenge, or is it, what's the journey been going from, say, software to consuming things as a cloud?
Yeah, it's definitely a journey that we are still on, and yes, I think you really outlined that challenge really well. It's interesting in that some elements of the journey are also helping customers understand why sort of repeatable patterns and best practices are kind of beneficial to them as well, right? So one of the things that we've done as Hashicorp is we put out some material which we call our cloud operating model, and really sort of working through, here's the journey that you kind of go through as you're thinking about the transformation that you ultimately want to achieve. And what our products and cloud services are doing are essentially helping you on that transformation. And so, there are elements of sort of education and being a partner with the customer on that journey around standardization and patterns. But yes, there's always sort of the unique feature that somebody wants. And the way we've sort of solved that given our roots in open source, has been through extensibility and a really, really strong and healthy ecosystem. And that's the approach we're taking even with the cloud services, right? So what is the common pattern of what the customers are asking for? And can kind of some of these unique things that come up be achieved by just providing some element of that sort of extensibility? For instance, one of the features in Terraform Cloud is what we call like a Terraform remote agent that can help you connect back into your data center from the cloud. Is that an approach where you can kind of solve this use case that you may have, but yet, enable us as kind of the builders of that cloud service to not have to do something unique to you?
Gotcha. No, and that makes sense, and it's good to hear that you're able to take that ethos that Hashi's had for so long, which is it's open to the community, it can be extensible to the community, and you're able to take that into the cloud as well, which gives not only customers but also your community, your partners, a sense of this isn't completely new. Like I'm going to be able to reuse and extend a lot of the things that they've built up expertise in over time. One of the things I've seen that's interesting, and I know different companies are trying to figure out how to do this. Hashi's always been a company who's been cloud aware, but also somewhat cloud agnostic. Your tools can be used in AWS as well as Azure and Google and on VMware and stuff. As you start spinning up your capabilities as cloud services, have you found any places where you're able to do some unique things across clouds yet, or is it still kind of the use cases and the customers' workloads are pretty single cloud wherever they live, kind of dependent? So do you see the multi-cloud use cases start to spring up yet, or is it still sort of in the cloud where things live?
Yeah, we definitely see the multi-cloud use cases that our customers have historically kind of used our products on spring up. I think the interesting question that you are perhaps asking is, does the fact that we are a cloud delivered service help us do some more innovation around that multi-cloud piece?
Yeah.
And there's some early indications. I think it's still early and nothing that's really concrete that I could share there. But we're definitely seeing, for instance, with some of the serverless pieces, et cetera, how kind of exploring how we could do something more, sort of bring out more capabilities that can leverage the fact that we ourselves are running as a cloud service.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. And again, it's so early days, especially for a lot of these things. That I didn't expect you to go, we figured out 20 new use cases, but I'm sort of curious as they start to come out. I want to ask you one last thing, and we think we've talked about this to a certain extent. When you introduce essentially a new business model, a new operating model, it impacts everybody who's around your business. Have you found that your community or your partners are coming to you in ways that they didn't when it was just software? Now that it's cloud, are they coming up with new ideas? Is there sort of this renewed vigor around what people can do with HashiCorp now that you're sort of expanding not only how you interact with your customers, but how you go to market, business models, and so forth? Has that sort of happened yet? Have you seen that sort of expanding yet?
Yes, absolutely. And, that's going to be a really interesting sort of journey for us as well, because the key kind of from a community point of view is we have a way to engage our community now directly within the cloud service, right? So we can help our community use our products, kind of for all our sort of cloud services. We have either a dev SKU or kind of a free tier. And that really helps our community and practitioners kind of kick the tires on the capabilities, onboard really quickly, and kind of, move beyond like the community engagement over forums and conferences, et cetera, to actually sort of being able to use these cloud services, give us feedback. And of course, we are now able to also, given that there is a lot of sort of ability for us to know, for instance, how a certain feature is growing, the signals from the community become finer grained because we can look at that with the capabilities like, feature flags and seeing how much a particular feature is being used, et cetera. So we're super excited about the expansion of both how we engage with the community, our partner ecosystem with sort of extensibility and cloud-specific integrations, as well as, on the business side, various marketplace integrations, et cetera, that the cloud model brings to us, right?
Right. Now, this has been excellent. I think one of the things that a lot of our audience is always curious is, how will companies kind of help them move to the cloud, and it's really interesting to watch the companies that have been successful in software like Hashicorp begin to move into this. I think there's learnings. One last question I want to ask. How often now that you're offering cloud services, right? You're running it. You're bringing your expertise. Do you get a lot of your customers or your partners who go, "Hey, will you share what you do behind the scenes for us?" Is that something that you have to think about very much? Is that a question that you get quite a bit in terms of people, not only wanting to give you input for the roadmap, but like, how do you do it? What's the secret?
So we get a little bit of that from sort of just the kind of the industry and sort of the network, given again, that we've been pretty transparent and open about how our products are built in open source and everything. And then the other interesting dimension of that question is from customers and partners around all the various certifications, right? So are you SOC 2 compliant? Right. And, so I think the behind the scenes piece and the questioning therein ends up also taking that form of all the various compliance certifications, et cetera, that we go through. That's, are you SOC compliant? Are you FISMA? Are you, HIPAA and all those other ones? So Absolutely. Well, Preeti, thank you so much today. This has been, again, like I said, it's really interesting to sort of watch the transformation of, not only HashiCorp, but a number of the companies that people really trust. And I think it's great to see that, you're responding and helping to lead them, as they decide, hey, if I want to be in the cloud, I now have easy ways to do that. And so really, really exciting times. Thank you so much. One last thing, if anybody is interested in, trying out, using, engaging with the HCP team, what's sort of the best ways to do that? Yeah, absolutely. First, thank you for having me on board. Sure. And cloud.hashicorp.com, just sort of go kick the tires, engage with us. And, we'd love to hear back and hope we can solve some of the problems that you're trying to solve in your workday.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, folks, with that, I'm going to kind of wrap it up. I want to thank Preeti for her time today on behalf of myself and Aaron. As always, want to thank all of you for listening. Thanks for telling a friend, helping us grow the community and spread the word around. With that, I'm going to wrap it up, and we will talk to you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Cloudcast. Please visit thecloudcast.net to find more shows, show notes, videos, and everything social media.